Um, Calling to order the regular board meeting of May 5, 2022. It is now 4:07 p.m. Please call the roll.
President Herrera,
Here.
Vice President Chavez.
Here.
Clerk Cortese.
Here.
Member Lay.
En route.
Member Doe.
Here.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome again. And are there any members of the public who would like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time?
There is no online public comment.
Seeing none and hearing none, the board will adjourn to executive session, to closed session, and will return for the public session. Welcome to the board meeting of May 5, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States. Again, welcome. We appreciate each of you who are here, both in the boardroom and online. For members of the public who wish to comment, you may raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer comment in real time. In-person public commentators will be allowed entry 3 speakers at a time into the boardroom. I sort of don't understand reading what I'm given. Upon conclusion of a speaker's public comment on the agenda item, the speaker must exit the boardroom. You may also submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district's homepage at ESUHSD.org or the link on the agenda. Please reference the agenda item number in your written comment and limit your written comments to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comments submitted online will be read into the record. Please note that all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamed live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at ESUHSD.org under the quick links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or to any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda and on the district's website. We're going to proceed with our meeting here. Item number 5, adoption of agenda, and it's an opportunity for the administration or the board to call for any changes in the public, in the published agenda. And if there are no changes being requested, we will proceed per the published agenda. And then moving on to item 6, special board special recognitions. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stegman is in the audience. Could I have you approach the podium here? Hey, we got some winners and some outstanding students. Just right up here is fine. To the mic, who recently participated in a competition and did very well. And we have people here that placed in the top 15 in the Bay Area. We have some people that were in the top 3. And I'm just wondering if you could let the public and the board know a little bit about the competition, what it was, how these students prepared, and then we'll go ahead and recognize them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us today. So these are all my students. These are typically juniors and seniors in the Independence High School Finance Academy. And essentially what they did, they participated in 2 business plan competitions. Where the first one was the World Series of Innovation, where they had to come up with a social enterprise to solve some sort of a global problem. And they submitted against thousands of teams from across the world, international competition. 3 of these teams that you'll see up there placed in the top 10 in their respective challenges, with with Charlize and Laura actually taking 3rd place in the worldwide competition. They made a few bucks off of that, and they also, more importantly, just their concept was validated, and they really stood out. Aside from that, we also have the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. That's a regional competition that we do. That's typically 2nd semester. Outside of, for the World Series of Innovation, we also had Cassie Tat and Heng Nguyen. Also Joshua Basto and Christina Tran also placed in the top 10 of their respective worldwide competitions as well. And then we had the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. That's a Bay Area based competition. And that's a little bit more free flowing, where they get to come up with any sort of a business idea, not necessarily a social enterprise. Charlize and Laura also came in our top 15, along with Jonathan and Marvin and Julie and Brianna Nguyen, Julie Dung and Brianna Nguyen as well. So our teams, we've had about 3 in each competition. One's a repeat, and the kids have worked really, really hard. They came up with slide decks. They had to come up with cost structures. They had to validate their business ideas. They had to come up with value propositions, all sorts of different things. And then they actually had to pitch it and impress the judges, which they did very well. So these outstanding young people really did shine a bright light on not only our school, but our district. And they're definitely very deserving of the honor tonight.
Hey, thank you for letting us know. And amazing, right? Could we have Principal Bjorn Berg, Principal of Independence, come on up? And board, I'd like to invite you to come up, and we'll introduce our winners and get a photo with them. Help me. I sure will. Let's start with our 3rd place winners. Final 15 in the region in the World Series of Innovation Business Plan Competition, Laura Bella and Charlize Lardizabel. Please come forward. Our next people we'd like to recognize for honorable mention, Cassie Tat for the World Series of Innovation Business Plan Competition, along with Joshua Basto, Heng Nguyen, and Christina Tran. Please come forward. Next group we'd like to recognize are top 15 in the Bay Area region. Jonathan Lamb, Marvin Macano, Julie Duong, and Brianna Nguyen. Congratulations to all those winners and award recipients. You feel free to stay for the board meeting. Feel free to leave and enjoy a Thursday evening. It's completely up to you. I just want to thank you for your efforts, and Mr. Berg, thanks for hosting this program. Mr. Stegman, thank you for your leadership and working with these groups and students. Hey, thanks for making this world a better place.
Congratulations.
I have to say this is one of my favorite moments is to celebrate the success of our students. And of course, I also want to thank the teachers and the coaches and the principals for making this possible. So thank you to all to make that possible. As you know, your success is made possible not only by your hard work and also your parents' investment in you. And so I hope that someday you will be able to come back to our districts after you become fabulously successful and help our district. Thank you very much.
I also like to echo a congratulations to all winners. On the board, we have several business owner experience. So any day that you feel that you want to invite us, please feel free to do it. So I really want to see you succeed. And you know what, we are so proud of your accomplishment. Thank you.
And one more acknowledgement. In addition to the congratulations, I also want to acknowledge how this past 2 years, however many years it's been, have been really tough. And even then, y'all have showed up and shown what you are capable of. This is amazing. So don't underestimate what you're capable of. This is just a small testament to that. So keep up the good work. Keep on dreaming, keep on working hard. Y'all are gonna get to big places.
Continuing with 6.02, Mr. Superintendent, staff building equitable communities.
For this month,
Associate Superintendent Teresa Marquez.
thank you. For this month, we honor the following staff who are working hard to build equitable communities. We begin first with Melanie Estranero, James Lake High School Inclusion Specialist, and kudos from her principal read as follows. Melanie Estranero is our James Lake High School Inclusion Specialist. As our inclusion specialist, she works closely with our students who need the most support. Melanie collaborates with our co-teaching teams and departments to help shift their instruction to be able to support students in various ways. In doing so, she moves our school steps closer to being able to meet our students where they are at and support them with their specific needs. Melanie also meets with students individually or in small groups to learn more about them. In these meetings of support, she's able to work together with the student and parents to set up a learning environment where they can be successful. Melanie is a true team player. Wherever she is needed, Melanie is there. Whether it is to help in supervision, support a teacher or a classroom, check in with the student, or facilitate a workshop, Melanie is ready to help in whatever way she can. We truly value and appreciate her work and willingness to truly make James Lake High School a great place to be and learn for all of our students and staff. Our
And
next
can I add-
honoree,
Can I add
of course,
that Melanie is also the mother of our very own Francine Estranero from the Student Governing Board.
yes. So congratulations to Miss Melanie Estranero. Our next honoree is Mr. Clay Hale, Yerba Buena High School social science teacher, and kudos from the principal read as follows. Mr. Clay Hale is being recognized for the work he has done. Mr. Hale is a wonderful social science teacher. As a teacher, he acknowledges and truly welcomes all of our students as they are, and I can truly attest that he knows every single one of his students along with their areas of strength and growth. For the 5 years that he's been at Yerba Buena, he has done so much for our students in the community. He comes in every day ready and willing to do anything to support not only YB students, but also his fellow staff. Many of our staff shared that they have gone to him to find solutions when they have questions on union-related issues. They commented that he is knowledgeable and approachable. He helped them find their own solutions. When a staff member was absent from a position on the school site council, he gladly took on the position to support the community. Mr. Hale is a true warrior. Congratulations to Mr. Clay Hale. And finally, today we honor Mr. Adrian Buenrostro, Mount Pleasant High School student advisor, and kudos from his principal read as follows. I am recognizing Adrian Buenrostro for his hard work and dedication to the staff, students, and families at Mount Pleasant. Mr. Buenrostro joined the Mount Pleasant team this school year as a student advisor. He has made it a point to get to know our students as he works to keep our school safe. When interacting with students, he can often be heard saying, "How can I help you?" He is supportive of our families, and his bilingual Spanish skills are indispensable. I am so glad that Mr. Buenrostro is a part of our team as he continues to play a vital role in building equitable communities at our school. Thank you for all that you do. These are our honorees for the month of May. Congratulations to all 3 of our honorees.
Congratulations, yes. Moving forward, item 7.01, our student governing board representative. And do we have Paula Escobar today?
Hi, everyone. I hope you guys are all doing well. First, want to start off giving my own shout out to the Independence High School business competition winners. I'm so incredibly proud of you and all your hard work. And I'm so glad that you guys are being recognized today because you deserve it. And as Bernard Chavez said, just like your hard work these past 2 years, it's really showing resiliency. And I'm just incredibly proud of you for representing your community and really getting out there and just doing such amazing things. And also thanks to our staff for also doing amazing things within their school sites. And I cannot express my gratitude enough for all the incredible staff that we have across all of our school districts. As for the scope of student governing board, we still have our applications open, so you can find more information about that on our Instagram page at ESUHSD.SGB. So you can go check that out if you want. And as for what we talked about the last meeting, we are planning on having a town hall session inviting students and student governing board members in particular to provide some a discussion on our sex education curriculum and for anyone to submit questions. So we hope to get more information about the event rolled out. And I also wanted to express kind of the student perspective on a lot of the things going on campus, particularly around school fights. We as students particularly have experienced a lot these past years, right? And so I think a lot of us come to school as a place for as a place for us to be welcome, a place for us to learn. And we want to go to school where we're not being over policed. We want to go to a school environment where we feel safe and that we feel the ability to access resources that prioritize our well-being and make sure that we're okay as we're navigating high school and we're growing up. And so I really want to prioritize that aspect and perspective of restorative justice because it's something that Student Governing Board has stood by for the past years and something that we'll continue to stand by and continue working on to really uplift different students and really make sure that all of our students' wellness is prioritized. And those are all the updates I have for you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, our Student Governing Board Representative Paula Escobar. If there are no comments, I'm going to move forward with the agenda. Item 801, there's only one item, which is 802 under this part of the agenda, and we'll just stick with the one item. Usually item 801 allows us to shift the order, but there's only one under this section. Order for the whole meeting. Okay. Is there anything that the board would like to shift in the order of how we would consider it? We're going to proceed with the agenda as published. Item 802, member Patty Cortez.
Yeah, this is an item to, I would like to present to my colleagues a request to sponsor an event that's coming up on May 15th. This is an event to promote, it's a concert, but the purpose is to promote human rights and also participation in our democratic process. And so that's going to be at Yerba Buena High School on May 15th, I believe.
Do we need to take an action on this? Yes. Let's have a motion.
Okay.
Who moved? Member Dolan moved and seconded by Vice President. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It passes unanimously. That item. Moving on to item 10 on the agenda. I do have one request. Notice in front of me, but I want to ask Ms. Gillen if there are others online or Mr. Superintendent. If there are.
There is no online public comment under this section.
Okay, Mr. Superintendent, are you aware of any?
There is no virtual request to speak.
Okay, I want to call forward Mr. Gregory Littman, who requested to speak. You have up to 2 minutes and our clock tracks the time. The microphone is on. There's a button you press there.
There we go.
And state your name for the record.
My name is Greg Littman, and I'm with these charter schools. And I don't think I'll need my full 2 minutes. I'm just coming here to express my thanks to the trustees, to Superintendent Vanderzee. This next month and a half is going to be my last after 15 years at ACE and 10 years as being part of the Eastside Union High School District. And I wanted to just thank you all for the chance to do this work and the privilege of working with Eastside families. I don't think she's in the room. I don't know if she's online, but I did want to especially thank Ms. Kristen King for years and years of incredible work. So if you're out there, hello, and thank you for all your patience and your dedication. I don't think it's on his LinkedIn page, but Mr. Vanderzee was my first draft pick to be the founding principal at ACE back in 2008. I think he made a wise choice career-wise, but I do want to thank him especially. I remember when he was the coolest principal in the Bay Area at Matson Middle School, and we all wanted to grow up to be Mr. Vanderzee, and maybe that's still true. I also wanted to extend an invitation. An email will be coming shortly, but on June 2nd at noon, Thursday, June 2nd, at a campus that Ms. Chavez has reason to know well at Empower Academy. We will be having an event where we will be introducing our new CEO. And we'd love the chance for you to come and meet Mr. Kennedy Eladio, who will be taking over in July and leading ACE into its next phase. But again, if I don't get a chance to thank you personally there, I do want to express again just what a great privilege and frankly, sometimes pleasure, sometimes not pleasure. It has been to be able to do this work in this city and in this part of the city and with these families. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to come here personally and give this expression. We wish you the best. There must be something on the horizon there. And Ace, it sounds like, I'm sure you've made a decision to place this in very capable hands moving forward. So, buena suerte. Okay. All right. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Thank you so much for your service, Greg, and your vision and your commitment to our students, and particularly the students that you serve at ACE. I'm really grateful. And I've enjoyed my visits out there. So you're really missed.
Wishing you the best. And I know this is not going to be the last that we see. You're still going to be around making an impact, right? There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Mr. Superintendent, any other requests to speak?
There are no other requests.
Okay, moving on from item 10 to item 11.01 regarding the update on novel coronavirus. Mr. Superintendent.
I'll just start by saying that I don't think my children would agree that I'm at all cool. Let's get that out of the way. But thanks for that, Mr. Littman. Yes, we're here tonight to share the latest data on the coronavirus in our area and just our ongoing safety measures, just re-inform folk about our stance on field trips and the next steps. So last time was one of the first times in a couple months that we started to see an uptick in the 7-day rolling average for new cases. We were at 323, let's see, last week. And now we're currently at 481 as a county. So we're still seeing a small upward trend. There haven't been, as a reaction to that, any new guidelines from the county or the state that really changes anything of our measures. We'll continue to follow our safety measures, but we can see the uptick. Last time we were together, the total COVID deaths related to COVID was at 2251. That's again cumulative. And today we stand at 2264. In terms of percentage of folks vaccinated, we were at 91.1% the last time we were together. Look at this, 91.2% percentage as a county of folk vaccinated. This is that graph that continues to remind us that it's in folks' best interest to get vaccinated. You can see last time we saw an uptick in these. This is a case rate, a 7-day average per 100,000 residents, ages 5 and up. And we can see that the rate was 58.6 for unvaccinated persons and only 16 for fully vaccinated. This week, that number is up to 86 and 23. And so just in keeping our eye on this data, continue to repeat the message that it's best interest for everyone to seek that vaccination. We internally have a COVID dashboard. This is a 10-day count, not a 7-day. It is not an average. It's the actual count of positive cases in the last 10 days. Last time we were together, there were 24 staff and 66 positive cases. That was about 1%, 1.1% of staff and 0.3% for students. Like the county, we can see an uptick in our own cases to 31 and 148. You can see for staff, that's 1.4%, 0.7%, let's call it for students. And we've had 1 positivity in our adult. Our vaccination rate as a system is 87.7. In terms of us as alone as a district with our educators, the state still has not given us clarity on what requirements might be in the fall for students and vaccinations. As soon as we know that, that will probably be the next new information to share, pending change, unless there's other changes in our data. Again, our ongoing safety measures, you can see them in the room. If we continue to say we recommend masking, but it is optional indoors. We continue to make sure that our ventilation systems have the proper filters, make sure that PPE equipment is available or personal protective equipment is available to folks. that testing is available, and we continue to inform people on a case-by-case basis if they've been in close contact with someone who has tested positive. We did make a move to allow for overnight field trips and also to allow for out-of-state travel. And both of those require a test before leaving, a negative test before leaving, and then a negative test upon their return to attend classes. The out-of-state trip, then another set of tests 5 days after the return. Our next steps, we continue to make testing available. We'll continue to locate the PPE and bring it in. And truly, we're keeping our eye almost daily on the rates as we have seen a slight uptick. We want to just make sure that we don't look away for too long, and then we're ready to respond if changes need to be made in the future. And as I said earlier, making sure that we're listening to find out what the implication, what the state is going to mandate in terms of vaccination for students, and then how to, if they do so, then how to, the logistics of that for our students that are either returning or here with us for the first time. Thank you very much. We do not need to take action on this item. At the last meeting, we approved the resolution to continue meeting in this format.
Thank you. Moving on to 12.01 regarding priority standards, Ms. Guerrero.
Thank you. Super excited to present to you our work on priority standards being led by Instructional Team, which consists of Ms. Marta Guerrero, my Director of Instruction, and our wonderful subject area coordinators who are going to share with you the process of priority standards. So super excited to bring this to you.
Good evening, everybody. Members of the board, Superintendent Vanderzee, my name is Marta Guerrero, and I'm the Director of Instruction and Professional Development. Joining me today are 4 of our 10 subject area coordinators. Vanessa Vitu, our Science Curriculum Coordinator. Autumn Jewell, our Visual Arts Curriculum Coordinator. Lawrence Yee, our Math Curriculum Coordinator. And Jeffrey Lynn Davis, our English Curriculum Coordinator. Watching from home are the rest of our subject area coordinators. And we're here to share with you the work of Instructional Services around the priority standards. We have mentioned them during various board meetings, so it's the end of the year. It's a time to share the work and the update. We're going to start our presentation with the slide that you have seen every time that we present. And the reason for that is that it serves as a reminder to all of us, to us in Instructional Services, that this is where we anchor our work, that this is the equity imperative that guides all our projects, all our work, our conversations, and our decisions. And that is that our work must ensure that we welcome all students as they are, that we get to know our students' strengths and areas of growth, that we respond positively to their needs, so that then they can engage in whatever assignments and work and projects teachers develop for them during the school day. Next slide. This slide serves the same purpose. It highlights our district's vision that we promise our parents, we promise our community that if they trust us with the education of their children, we will work our hardest to ensure that they graduate college and career ready. To the left, you see the graduate profile, and it lists those skills that students will have after 4 years of being in our classrooms. We will send them out into the world, college and career ready, with skills as communicators, critical thinkers, collaborators, creators, community members, with a plan in hand for whatever it is that they decide to do next. To the right is our equity policy. We have it in every slide that we use in Instructional Services. When the subject area coordinators meet with their teachers, make presentations, there it is. It is a reminder that in order for us to ensure that all our students are college and career ready, we have to make sure that we do not let whatever background, whatever challenge our students walk with through the door get in the way, and that we don't use that as the reason why students are not having equitable outcomes in our district. That instead, we as a district have to ensure that we work together so that students, regardless of the school and the classroom that they're in, can have an equitable outcome, and that is college and career readiness. You've seen this before. So it's also here because it's part of our presentation. We're going to be talking about a system response in instructional services. We start with policy. The policy for us in this presentation is that equity policy. That's part of our board policy. The policy in this presentation are the Ed Code, the Ed Code standards, the California standards for each of the subject areas that we teach in our district. That's the policy. The presentation today is about the practices, about the way we do business, about the way we teach those classes and we teach those standards. You've seen this before as well. It brings together our equity policy, our commitment to build equitable communities, and it highlights the fact that as a district, we have chosen multi-tiered systems of support as the framework we will use to organize all our efforts to build those equitable communities so that our messaging, our practices, our decisions, our expenditures are aligned towards creating these equitable communities. Multi-tiered systems of support is actually a framework. It's not an extra thing. It's the way we organize our actions to ensure that we have equitable outcomes. In previous presentations, we have shared this triangle. The triangle brings together the wellness, behavior, and academic needs of our students as part of this multi-tiered system of support. The largest band, the green band, describes the efforts that we will put forth as an organization to try and capture the success of students, of about 85% of our students. If we do things right, we should ensure the success of the majority of our students. It brings together the efforts around wellness, whether they be mental health or social emotional needs, the responses towards students' behaviors when things are challenging in and out of the classroom. And then it lines it up with academics because we cannot separate a student's social emotional wellness, their behaviors, and their success in the classroom. Every teacher will tell you that they go hand in hand. Sometimes you notice a student not doing well, there's something else going on, a behavior, there's a reason for it. So all three together make up the work of building those tiers of support under MTSS. As an educational system, when you see the triangle, it has an arrow that talks about high quality instruction. That's because our business at the end of the day is ensuring that there is teaching and learning, high equity, high quality teaching and learning. A lot of people see the triangle and think that this is extra work. What is this? Multi-tier systems of support with wellness, behavior, and academics. In reality, if you look at our equitable community statement, you will see that it's already built into that. The first part of our equitable community statement talks about the wellness and behavior of our students and how we will respond to that work. We also see that the latter part has to do with academics. So being instructional services, today's presentation is about the academics. If we are instructional services and we are about teaching and learning, if we are about ensuring that our students are college and career ready, if we are about building equitable communities, then we have to talk about instruction and what high quality instruction looks like. There's a lot of educational research out there. Any of us who have gone through the credential program have read about the work of Richard Dufour, who's an educational researcher. And he asks us to ask 3 questions whenever we're talking about instruction. What do we want students to know and be able to do? That's 1. How will we know if they learned it? And 3, what will they do if they don't? Using the work of Richard Dufour as a foundation, we in instructional services have additional questions, and you see them around the circle. The first one is aligned to his, what do we expect students to learn? In an English 1, in a math 3, in a photo 2, in a PE 1, what exactly do we expect students to learn? How will we engage students in their learning? How will we know if they're learning? What will we do when our students struggle? And finally, how do our grading practices reflect the student learning? If you notice, those questions, which we need to ask ourselves as instructional services, are around that part of the equitable community statement that is directly related to academics. So we take number one, the first question, the one right up on top. What do we expect students to learn? That question, out of that question arise other questions. One of them is, what subject area standards are we teaching, in what course, and which ones should we prioritize? Especially in a year like last year, when there were reduced number of in-person hours, especially in a year like this year, coming out of a pandemic, what standards are we going to prioritize? What are the lesson, unit, or course objectives for what we teach? What skills will the students acquire if we teach this? Which specific content do we cover? What literacy skills will the students acquire while they're in this class? And what college and career readiness skills will be embedded in our teaching? Those are questions that we ask ourselves. We don't necessarily yet have all the answers, but that's part of our of our Plan, Do, Act, Study, Act cycle, of our inquiry cycle, in order to be able to improve our instruction. Next
Can I
one.
ask a quick question?
Mhm.
So when you say which college and career readiness skills will be embedded,
Mhm.
what does that mean specifically, college and career readiness skill?
There are college and career readiness skills that are outlined by the standards.
Oh,
Yes, along
Okay.
with literacy skills like listening and speaking, besides the content area, specific skills and content. So all of those things need to be part of what we teach, especially when our mission, our vision is college and career readiness. So it's not so much just a grade on paper, but the skills that go with it.
but what's it? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there an example of like what some of those college and career skills might be?
One of them will be, could be being able to speak, being able to present, being able to work in groups, collaboration, being able to be collaborative in a group.
Oh, like our
Huge.
career, like our graduate.
Yeah, so our
profile, some of
graduate
those
Our
things?
graduate
profile,
profile.
our graduate profile
Okay.
exactly lists those college and career readiness skills.
So as we look at those questions and we look at our commitment to build, to create a system response so that we're able to answer this in every classroom and in every school in our district, we started with question number one, especially because teachers had this question last year. We came back from the pandemic and the question was, what am I supposed to do? I usually do this much and I have fewer kids. How do I decide what's important and what I should not do? What can wait? What will be done next year? How do we do this? And that's what started our work around the priority standards, the prioritization of the standards. Next one. This conversation that teachers brought up, these questions that administrators asked, we got plenty of phone calls from administrators and teachers. What are we supposed to do? Was the impetus behind adding the priority standards to the LCAP, to our current cycle, our current 3-year plan. If we can identify what the priority standards are, and we can ensure that a Math 1 class is a Math 1 class, the same at this school, in that school, and that school, that students leaving a biology class are leaving with the same content and skills, then we will be able to impact our graduation rate and build those equitable communities that we talk about. So the work on the identification of priority standards supports our commitment to build equitable communities. It ensures that we have a district response, is foundational to the implementation of multi-tiered systems of support, because we need to know what we're teaching in order to be able to respond with interventions and supports in the classroom. It supports our commitment to increase our graduation rates as evidenced by the LCAP. It's one of the action items in the LCAP. It addresses learning loss. Coming back from a pandemic, we know students did not get a normal school year last year, and that they did not finish 1920 that way either. So there is learning loss that happened because of the pandemic. And by focusing on a group of priority standards, we're able to address that need. And if we embed interventions and supports along the way with a reduced number of priority standards, we're able to add interventions and supports without impacting what we're teaching, then we're also accelerating students at the same time. So the rest of the presentation will be done by the subject area coordinators, the teachers who actually did the work. Just a little bit of information on the subject area coordinators. Currently, we have 10. We have subject area coordinator for the counselors, for the English teachers, for library services, for math, for performing arts, physical education, science, social studies, visual arts, and world languages. The subject area coordinators are teachers. They're technically teachers on special assignment. 3 of them are housed here at the district office. They are full-time subject area coordinators. The other 10 do this in addition to being in the classroom, being a librarian, being a counselor. Not all the subject area coordinators have the same amount of time to get this work done. However, in spite of that, they are a collaborative group. We meet once a month, and out of those meetings came the need to work together. The work that they will present to you today is work that they agreed upon and that they did in conjunction with their teachers at the school sites. But it is the same work in every school site. We're using the same messaging, the same language, the same process, because we are one district. And in order for this conversation to take hold, we have to use the same process and language so that everybody understands this is one movement in instructional services of all the subject areas together. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first presenter, Mr. Yu.
Hello, board members. Hello, Superintendent Vanzi, and everyone watching. So my name is Lawrence Yi, and I'm the teacher on special assignment serving as the subject area coordinator for math. And I'm going to be going over some of the background about the progression of the priority standards work in our district that's been completed so far with the subject area coordinators leading. So as mentioned by Ms. Guerrero, a lot of the work that happened comes about from our situation with the pandemic and the shift to distance learning. So in that fall semester of 2020, we were really looking at adapting to how we were going to teach using distance learning. And then the question really became, what are we going to be able to teach and address, given that the amount of time that we're with our students was going to be reduced for that year? Now, with the opportunity to have a common collaboration time across all the sites, the subject area coordinators were able to meet regularly with teachers from across our district at the same time, which is something that rarely happened before. And throughout our conversations, we were able to really see what the different sites' approaches were to what the content of each course was going to be taught, and we're able to share the strategies with each other. But what this really identified was having a common criteria and understanding of what are we teaching and what do we expect our students to gain from the course, so that even with the reduced amount of instructional time, that when we do return to in-person instruction, that our students can be successful in the next course. So as you can see on the slide, throughout the fall with our meetings, and we were getting a lot of conversations with our teachers, we saw what the need was. The subject area coordinators were able to then look at the different research-based strategies and practices to identify priority standards. And with the direction of what Ms. Jeffrey Lynn Davis was able to point out from her prior experiences and trainings, was the work of Larry Ainsworth and his priority standards work. What the subject area coordinators all did together was receive training to learn about what his process, the definitions and understanding of what priority standards are and how they can be implemented across all or all subject areas. Oh, can you go back? So once all of these subject area coordinators received the training, we really discussed whether it is something that we could bring to each of our subjects. So can I bring it to math? Can we bring it to science? Can we bring it to our visual arts? Can we bring it to English? And the answer was yes. So what we did was each of our subject area coordinators worked with teachers across our district to really go through the process, which we're going to describe in detail, about how to identify priority standards for each of our courses. So we did that throughout March of 2021 through the summer. And in that August, the week before the school year started, the professional development days, we were able to get feedback from our teachers about the drafts of the priority standards. Using that feedback this last year, we've been able to really refine, get more feedback, and really look at what the priority standards are. Different subject areas have been able to move faster because there was more consensus with their teachers. Other areas like math, after the initial review, we took the feedback and realized we needed to slow down and make sure that the work gets done, but the work has value. And then we're also going to talk about what the present work is and what the next steps are. Okay, next slide. So what are priority standards? So by definition, from the Larry Ainsworth trainings that we've received, this is what we have grounded all of our work in. So priority standards are a carefully selected subset of the total list of the grade-specific and course-specific standards within each content area that students must know and be able to do by the end of each school year in order to be prepared for the standards at the next grade level or course. Priority standards represent the assured student competencies that each teacher needs to help every student learn and demonstrate proficiency in by the end of the current grade or course. This definition has helped ground the work that all of the subject area coordinators have done with our teachers. So for example, with math, for our Math 1 course, the California State Standards list over 50 subject area or standards that cover over 200 learning objectives. In a regular year with 182 school days, it is quite a challenge to address all of those standards and skills. So the key here is that we are selecting a subset of that total list. What are those skills that you absolutely need to know to go on to the next course? Next slide. So this diagram that you see here was the result of feedback from the teachers to help visualize what the process of priority standards identification looks like. Excuse me. There are 3 criteria that we used to evaluate each standard for each of our courses, and they are endurance, leverage, and readiness. So we are now going to have Vanessa Vitu come up and talk about our first criteria.
Good evening, everyone. Excited to be here. Vanessa Vitu. I am a teacher on special assignment, serving as a science curriculum coordinator. So before I talk about our first criteria of endurance, I'd like to go back to our promise to our students, which is that we are going to provide them opportunities to engage with tasks that develop the strategic thinking skills for full participation in their local communities and global society. So what are those tasks? It's a big word in the sense that it can encompass so much. So that's the work that we are doing as and Instructional Services team is to define those tasks, that subset of all of our standards. In science, we use the next generation science standards to frame our work, but there are many performance expectations. And so what we've done is look at this criteria of endurance, leverage, and readiness to really hone in on that subset. Next slide, please. So the endurance, sorry, apologies, go back, please. The first criterion is endurance. So endurance, as is students, what's the knowledge, skills of value beyond a single test date? So this is the big stuff. Like this is the life stuff that the students should know beyond the walls of Eastside. Does our content standards reflect that? Are the tasks that we're asking students to learn reflective of this criteria? So just like all of my colleagues, we've asked teachers to really reflect on every single standard that's in the next generation science standards to decide, does it meet this criteria? Like this. So this is an example of one of our standards. The standard asks that students be able to construct an explanation based on evidence for how the availability of natural resources, occurrence of natural hazards, and changes in climate have influenced human activity. It's big. There's a lot going on there, but you already know that these are important skills and concepts that a student must be able to critically think through, be able to communicate, and then be able to collaborate with their peers beyond our walls. So this is why this statement has an enduring quality. Next slide, please. In our science courses, we cover this. We cover this through our lessons about climate change, about natural resources, about ecosystems, and about interactions between organisms. Then it gets deepened and emphasized in other subjects that we teach in chemistry and physics, and even more so when our math teachers, our English teachers, our economics teachers uses examples as part of their lessons. And now my colleague, Ms. Jewel, is going to talk about leverage. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Autumn Jewell, and I'm a teacher on special assignment and the subject area coordinator for the visual arts. I am honored to work with such dedicated and passionate educators who came together after hours to start this important work of identifying our priority standards. The importance of implementing priority standards is a way to align curriculum, making sure students have equal access across the district, while keeping individuality and teacher autonomy within the classroom, allowing us to meet our individual students' populations where they're at. This process took many months of visual arts teachers across the district coming together to find consensus about which of our state standards met the criteria of endurance, leverage, and readiness. Looking at the criteria for determining our standards, leverage is a skill set students will be able to apply within the class they're taking and beyond. These are transferable skills applicable across academic settings. To break down how this would be applied, we are looking at the California State Standards for the Visual Arts under the proficiency category, which applies to our entry-level courses. In this case, we're looking at photo 1. The anchor standard responding is asking students to engage with works of art as the viewer, or to formulate how they as an artist want the viewer to respond to their work. The standard says 7.1, hypothesizing ways in which art influences perception and understanding of the human experience. Next slide, please. So examining how state standards meet the criteria of leverage, we can see students are being asked to break down and decode visual language, understand how visual arts can and is used as a powerful tool of persuasion in shaping the human experience. Students will need to apply these skills as artists crafting a visual message, but also transfer these skills to other academic settings to decode visuals, identifying how those images and/or symbolism is affected and/or informs the viewer's understanding and engagement with a work of art.
This is going to pick me up. Okay, thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Jeffrey Lynn Davis. I am a teacher on special assignment, serving as the English Language Arts Curriculum Coordinator. And what I'd like, the third criteria I'll be speaking to you about is the criteria of readiness. These three, all three, each content area, each subject area coordinator worked with our teachers, our volunteer teachers, and had wonderful conversations around our standards. This was an opportunity for our teachers to actually dig into the standards, speaking around endurance. How can this learning move outside of the classroom, leverage? How can we take what we're learning in any content area and use that across the school site? And then readiness is the criteria that is more at home right in the content area. And so the standard for readiness really has to do with what skills, what concepts am I acquiring that are going to prepare me either for the next unit that my teacher is going to teach or for the next course in the content area. So it's more at home. It's the center of a circle, if you want to say. Next slide, please. And so an example priority standard for English, it's a literature standard and has to do with determining a theme or central idea of a text, analyzing how that theme develops over the course of that text. And then how is it shaped? How does it emerge? And how do we write a summary of a text? In your math class, you're not talking about theme. In your social studies class, you might look at central idea, but you're not talking about theme. This is right at home in the English classroom, excuse me. And so, would you go to the next slide, please? So why is this a standard that meets the criteria for readiness? We start learning about theme actually in elementary, but really we refine what we're learning in our English classrooms, and then we deepen that learning from our freshman year through our sophomore, our junior, our senior year across all of our courses. And so what does all of this mean? We go back to this promise that we've made to our community and our parents about having our students college and career ready. Well, we have made the promise that in order for our students to be college and career ready, they are going to be, we as educators are going to be creating tasks that enable our students to become strategic thinkers, to become communicators, critical thinkers, collaborators, creators. How do we do that? We teach them skills, we teach them concepts, we teach them strategies that have endurance, that go outside of the classroom. Their life is much larger, much greater than Eastside Union High School District. We want them to also be able to take what they learn in their science classes, in their social studies classes, in their art classes, and leverage those skills that they're acquiring in the other classes. It's transferable skills. We want our students to have transferable skills. And then that can't happen if they're not ready to move to the next unit their teacher wants to teach or to the next course in that subject area. And so that's our promise to our parents. That's our promise to our community. So all of these components of high quality education, are you going to take over now, Ms. Vitu? Okay. So this one, this just takes us back to the beginning. What do we want our students to learn? What we want our students to learn or knowledge, we want them to acquire skills. We want them to understand concepts that are going to prepare them to be participants in our community and in the greater society as a whole.
So where are we now? Now that we have had the opportunity for our teachers to study the standards, to ask questions about it, to reflect on their own practice, and then make recommendations for what our priority standards should be. And now we compiled all of that information. We're now at the point where we're ready to publish our priority standards. Once we finish this draft of priority standards in terms of collecting all of the different subject area standards, We hope to be able to create one uniform message that goes out to all of our stakeholders, obviously to all of our teachers, so that they know exactly what they are expected to teach. And then our students know exactly what they are going to learn from us. This publication will include, next slide, please, our rationale, our intention, the process that we've just shared. Of course, it will also include the criteria that was utilized. And then we're now at the point where we're hoping to format our pages. Ms. Jewel?
I'm just going to briefly talk a little bit about how we got to this point and being ready to format this all together. So each of the subject area coordinators facilitated teams of teachers in following a unified format to determine which standards met those three criteria: endurance, leverage, and readiness. Once the visual arts identified their 6 or 7 standards as priority by individual teachers, we all worked together to unify those standards and come to consensus on those 6 to 7 standards. That list was then turned into a draft that was shared with all teachers, and teachers had an opportunity to review, ask questions, and then to vote on approving those for a final copy to be published. I am pleased to report that 100% of visual arts teachers were engaged and involved in this process, either through voting or taking part in workshops. 93% of the visual art teachers across the district voted to approve our level 1 and level 2 priority standards. We just finished our level 3 and 4, and that draft will be going out to teachers soon to vote. This process was followed for each of the levels and courses across the subject areas. By identifying priority standards, teachers are going to be able to focus on strategic learning, remediation, and acceleration as needed, while using the remaining standards as supplement to for our priority standards. This is a very important process that we are undertaking and will have great impact for our students.
And as Autumn said, it's been so exciting that these conversations that we're having across the content areas, we've been having using the same language. Science, social studies, math, everyone has looked at the same criteria to determine what our priority standards are. And so now what are we doing? Our next step is for each of us. Thank you. In each content area, now it's time for us to unpack the standards. So how do we determine what are the skills? What are the concepts? What we've done is begun to create a template that can be used across the content areas, just as we had the criteria, to help us to unpack those standards. And then that, next slide. And that leads to the next work. So future work is to get those standards unpacked. That's going to take time across our different subject areas. And then those unpacked standards will help us to determine what are the pre-assessments we need to determine where our students are in relation to those standards. Then once we know where they are, we begin to teach across our various subjects. What are the formative assessments? The assessments that are going to happen while that learning is being formed. So what are the formative assessments? Then we got a benchmark, because we need to know, have they learned what we said they didn't know, or they knew and we need to refine? And then finally, summative assessments. And this is going to take place across the different subject areas. And so why are we doing all of this? Building equitable communities so that all students engage with tasks that develop the strategic thinking skills for full participation in their local communities and their global society. Every time I say this, I think about how many of us know about the world because of Ukraine. Our students need to be able to process what they are hearing in the world, no matter the subject area they are in. Thank you, Nick. Thank you for allowing us to share our work. And we're ready to respond to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for such a comprehensive presentation and update for the board. Members of the board, comments, questions, and then I'll have a comment.
Well, I do. I'm sure you have a time, but. Yeah, no. You want to go? You want me to go? Okay, okay. So first, this was amazing. I mean, you know, our whole institution had to pivot on a dime around, you know, going to distance learning. And now you're like, you know, moving the entire ship, you know, like trying to do a U-turn with a cruise ship or something. I mean, this is really extraordinary work. So I want to definitely acknowledge that. I'm not sure I like completely understand I mean, I understand, like, you know, from ed code, there's a whole bunch of standards, and given that we have a limited amount of time and attention and you know, the learning loss and all that, that we really have to, you know, focus on what do our kiddos really need right now. But what I don't understand, so Mr. Yee, you said earlier that there are how many math standards from the, a lot, right? I mean.
Yeah, for Math 1 alone, there are over 50 standards and substandards for Math 1 and 200 learning objectives, roughly.
So 50 standards.
Yes.
And so then your work would, how many priority standards would you pull out of that 50?
So with the priority standards work, there is no magic number, but it turns out to about roughly 25% to about a third of those standards. And for example, we're not eliminating any standards, but when we say prioritize, we're saying that if one of the skills is solving equations, we don't need to overemphasize those steps that get to the larger goal. So maybe we want to solve a variety of equations by the end of a chapter or the course. We shouldn't stop because a student is struggling on a one-step equation and we stop the whole class until everyone gets that goal down before we move on to the next piece. We have opportunities to revisit and reteach, but we don't lose sight of what the ultimate goals are when we prioritize. So when we have the 200 objectives, yes, some students may need more time to hit some objectives, but there are some that by the end of the course, that's the goal. So if it takes students longer, we provide them the supports and really address how do we get everyone to there.
Got it. Okay, so then am I hearing then that your assessments are oriented around the priorities? So you're making sure that every student gets what they need, and some students might get more, but
yeah,
every
and that's
student
gonna
gets
be
those priority ones is the goal, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be some of the future work.
Okay.
So we're just finishing up the identifying what these priority standards are and really getting that teacher feedback from across our district within our subject areas about having that common understanding of what do we expect our students to have at the end of the course, moving on to the next course. And then that will lead us to be able to discuss about how we teach those things, which is what we're going to be doing with the unpacking and future work.
Great. And then, so I'm here, there was a tremendous effort and success in aligning our educators around these priority standards. Question I have is then, what about when they get to college? What are the priority standards that we've identified going to align with what's expected when they get to college? Like, how do we know that?
And that's part of the conversations. When it's an amazing process. And it's not a process that takes a large amount of time. It could be a 3 to 5 hour, unless you have 200 process. But the teachers have all that in mind. Where are they supposed to go? Because life does not stop at the end of 12th grade. So we do have to have in mind. And so one example we have that helps try to explain it is like building a fence. You have the post and you have the rails. The standards are, the priorities of the post, but then it's not a fence if you don't have the rails. And so those are the pieces that that help our students to do what they need to be able to do, whatever that skill, whatever that knowledge they need to help them to acquire that. So, and that's why we said we're not tossing any standards. These are the ones that we know college and career are so important to help those students to be successful. And that's what the endurance standards. That's why they have to have endurance, they have to have leverage, they have to have readiness, so that that's why they're prioritized. And then the students are ready, not only for 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, but also for college and career.
Got it. Thank you.
Vice President John.
You just want to get it over with, huh? I'm always so appreciative and so much gratitude for each and every one of you. As y'all were presenting, I was like, oh my goodness, what a beast of a task that's ongoing, and how clever. Because everybody is trying to think, how do we support our community, our students in a really thoughtful and purposeful way? And this is key, right? We're being very strategic to make sure that our kids are set up. I love the criteria. When you were speaking, I was like, yeah, that's leverage, right? It's beyond the tests. And that's what we should always be thinking. Because we don't want our students to pass Math 1 or physics just for the sake of a grade. We want them to use those skills to, in their life, in their college, in their career, how they orient. So I really appreciate that orientation and how it's embedded in this new approach. And talk about common assurances. I know we said it in a few different ways, but building this curriculum, if you will, that's the way I'm seeing it. We're building a curriculum for our staff, so that they don't have to already, in addition to all the things that they do as a teacher regularly, have to think like, oh man, how am I going to break down the standard? What skills? What objectives? When you talked about unpacking, I was like, ooh. That's a loaded process, and I'm so curious to learn a little bit more about that. But I have some questions about the timeline, I guess, and like the way that that y'all do the work as SACs. I heard that some of the SACs, I guess I don't understand like the structure of SACs. Some SACs are teachers, some SACs are here. How does that work?
And for the audience, SACs is subject area
Thank you.
coordinators, which
Yes.
we've been talking about.
I do want to address the timeline. The question last year, as soon as we started, was, what am I supposed to teach? I normally do this, and now we have synchronous and asynchronous work. What are we supposed to teach? We had a conversation in Instructional Services. What is going to be our answer? And our answer, led by Ms. Marquez and Superintendent Vanderzee, was we need to do right by kids this year. Regardless of what we give in content, kids are out, teachers are out. Whatever we give will also create stress. So you do the best that you can for the kids, make decisions based on the situation that you're in. And we made a strategic decision to use this as an opportunity to have a deeper conversation around the standards. Some of the subject area coordinators, 3 of them are here full-time. Some of them have a 2-period release, and then they teach the rest of the time, like Ms. Jewel. Library services has a 0.2, counseling a 0.4. So everybody has a different amount of time to get the work done. The beautiful thing is that once we started working together and we committed to a process and we committed to a structure, they've all been able to get this work done either with after-school meetings, Saturday meetings. We couldn't do pullouts, right? Because there were no subs to pull people out. But it's been a challenge. That has been a bit of a challenge, not being able to do it during the school day. Regarding, so the timeline, the challenge we also encountered is that their standards are not the same. So social studies has content standards that literally lists like the Battle of 1812, right, as a standard. English has skills-based standards, and you saw that summarized text, not necessarily summarize this text and title. Visual arts had brand new visual arts standards that had just been approved prior to the pandemic. So they were brand new to the visual arts teachers, and we had to start by reading them and learning what they were before even engaging in this work. Math has these very interesting set of standards that can be applied. This standard can be applied to math 1, 2, and 3. We have to figure out, what does the standard look like in math 1? What does it look like in math 2? What does it look like in math 3? So the work of each of the subject area coordinators has varied. What delayed the timeline was the fact that we made a promise that we would not move forward until every single teacher had an opportunity to review and give feedback and agree. This is, after all, impacting their daily work. And so those conversations had to happen. Ms. Jewell was able to get everybody to actually vote on a Google sheet and agree. So Mr. Ponticelli has been after people, and I think he has like an 80-something% response rate.
Wow.
Susan J. visited department chairs meetings at every school site during collaboration to talk to each of the department members to get feedback. Zoom meetings after school to get groups of people to participate. The math department chairs decided they're going to lead this work, and then they took responsibility to go and take the information back to their sites. So the process has changed from subject area to subject area because of the challenges of the standards, because of the time. And we're trying to model what we ask teachers to do. We're going at the speed of learning. It's going to take a while, but every step we take, we're going to take it together, and it's going to be a firm step forward. And so we're hoping that this summer, we will start unpacking the standards. So we're putting a little bit of PD money away so that we can cover teacher time to start the unpacking, identifying the skill and the content in each of those standards, because we want to start the school year at the new teacher academy with something to give our teachers.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. And that even feels fast. Knowing how time consuming and how thoughtful we have to be, especially when you look at those frameworks. And it's not just like unpacking, it's what are the formative assessments? What are the summative assessments? How do they align with some state assessments and so on and so forth? And so this, Ms. Guerrero, I think you started addressing this. This just say is optional, like teachers, it's a resource that they're going to get at the beginning of the year, like all teachers across the board. Will there be like optional support for them with this? Or
the priority standards and the unpacking of the standards, the contents and the skills will serve as guidance of what we are saying a physics class is, so that eventually we're able to have conversations as to whether or not students are meeting the standards or anything else. As a district, one of our responsibilities is to ensure that we provide curriculum to teachers and resources that they need to teach. The teachers make the decision as to how do I teach it and how do I grade it. But in order for us to ensure that an A at Santa Teresa in Spanish 1 means the same thing as an A at Independence High School in Spanish 1, we need to be able to at least provide our teachers with the curriculum map that says this is what a Spanish 1 class is in the Eastside Union High School District, aligned to the standards.
yeah, and this is what an assessment looks like. And what kind, yes.
Yeah, and then teachers use their expertise to decide how to teach that and how to assess it, but we need to be able to provide something.
This is so beautiful. I've seen a lot of districts and just schools do a lot of this work, and I have to say, our district, I am so proud how in depth we go with this work, which is the work, right? I'm in awe.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to get away from was, I think, and I would like, and I prefer, because we all have preferences. We all know what we've been doing. Something we learned when we started teaching, or something that works for us, or something that I think it's important. By following a set of criteria that prepares students for college and career, for the world beyond, or that prepares them for the next class. We've been able to bring staff together. Some of the schools had started the work on their own with a lot, so they were able to bring their ideas, and then we ran them through the criteria. Does that you have chosen as a school site match? Where does it fall? Does it have leverage, readiness, endurance? And if so, bring it in, right?
Yeah, the guideposts, the clarity, right? What to look for. Yes, beautiful job. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge I was really most encouraged by the description of the extent of consultation that is being pursued to take it to the next level and the next level and the next level to get genuine understanding and buy-in, because in my experience with ambitious initiatives of this nature is that they often fail when it moves from theory to practice. And you can create a beautiful, theoretical framework that is seamless and exciting. And then it wobbles and it falls when it tries to make the transition to on the ground. But the effort that you're making to bridge the gap in understanding and provide opportunity after opportunity for buy-in is encouraging. And even then, I know that there are going to be people who feel like they're not being heard, that there is not sufficient consultation or agreement. That's just the nature of systems change. So I acknowledge how intricate this whole systems change endeavor is, and that you have stayed with it to the extent that you are staying with it. And I'm going to be open to hearing the naysayers still at this point, because I want to know what I can learn as a policymaker from those who are not persuaded that this is anything more than an exercise of people sitting in their offices who don't really get it, kind of a thing. Let me ask.
I just asked, I'm sorry, but like when you said the buy-in, I'd also like to add expertise. There is so much expertise out there, and it's leveraging that expertise. And like, that's a way of showing our teachers respect, right? Like, you have a lot to offer, bring it. And this is guideposts and resources, right? It's not like we're saying like this. So there's
That's what I'm appreciating most about this update. It's like, wow, I'm kind of having a wow reaction. Another track altogether, when you say college and career readiness, to what extent does that acknowledge or integrate career technical education that doesn't just both directly and indirectly focus only on college?
So our CTE classes have not yet had an opportunity to engage in this process. So that is one of our next steps for next year. One of the reasons is we don't have a CTE subject area coordinator yet. Before Ms. Jewell was hired as a visual arts, we did not have one in the summer. And Ms. Davis and I kind of started working on it, and how do we bring the visual arts teachers, and then Ms. Jewell was hired, and thankfully she took it on and has done a great job. We're not very good at CTE, but that's work that will be done next year. Mr. Nguyen, who's our Director of Career Services, has navigators for each of the sectors, and they're going to be supporting some of this work for CTE because their standards are double, right? Depending if a CTE class is a science class and a CTE class, then they have the science standards and the CTE standards. Or if it's just a CTE, no, not just, but it's only a CTE class, like a construction class, then they have those sector standards that we have to do that. And we're not very knowledgeable in that to be able to support that work. It has to be led by them.
Yeah, it's become more and more of a priority for me. I've been now on the Metro Ed board for some time, and even before, as much time as I've been able to spend there, I had an appreciation for the alternative track or the equally valid track of CTE.
Yes.
Especially as CTE has forged stronger bonds with industry, has been moving towards an A through G curriculum. There's just, that ought to be as honored and as validated in our system as any other thing pointing to college. And I hope your team does strengthen itself, and part of it should be collaborating with Metro Ed, staff as well as our own staff on how to articulate, that kind of a part of the whole system.
Now that you have brought it up, full disclosure, CTE courses have not been put through this process. World languages is not done, and math is not done. We're hoping to have math done by early summer. Actually, the math teachers have a pullout day on May the 13th to try and finish off the process. But there are a couple of subject areas that we're still working on.
At every monthly meeting of Metro Ed, we hear one or two student testimonies who come before the board and share their experience, their journey. And it's like each time we listen to a miracle, a student that found their way in life and has a direction and a purpose and is excited about their future. And then when I last toured some of our own CTE programs, even a brief conversation with students will transmit that energy. It's like they didn't find themselves in other parts of our system, but they found themselves here in the way that we want them to, that they, be motivated, they learn how to learn and set a direction in life and what have you. So I really want to see that uplifted in our district.
Yeah, we have some
more.
outstanding CTE programs in our district, and we're going to make sure that they do have their priority standards as well.
Members of the board, any other comments? Member Lay.
I have to say that I'm very impressed. I know it's a lot of works when to put this presentation also. I was wondering, you make the one of the slides said that we start February, March 2021, and technically it's more than a year now, right? So you're going to implement these priority standards to this the school site. When are we going to do that?
Our intention is to be able to unpack the priority standards essentially this spring and summer for most of our subject areas. And then Mr. Vanessa, if you could go back a slide. A few more, please. So we hope to be able to present this document to our teachers by the start of the year, so that essentially our newest teacher, our most veteran teacher, has this guidance in paper in front of them to guide what they're going to teach for the year.
Yeah, and I realize that a lot of works, and I would just want to see how the teacher would cooperate it or coordinate it with a lot of details, and a lot of things probably would change it, the style and the way that teacher have been implemented in the past. So are you going to reevaluate it every year or every, I don't know that, to make some improvement, or when you hear, something might work or might not work, because we cannot say that, we challenge out there, and also student, would they take it in a different ways when we implement it? So I just want to see we have a plan that we reevaluate it and look back and implement it, maybe another module, or how do we gonna be help the teacher as well as student to succeed in this program?
Yeah, definitely. I think our standards, as much as we think that they're going to stay the same, they don't. They always get updated, and so we have to do the same on our part. We need to be able to reevaluate what we've done and reflect on, hey, was this really a priority standards? Did we really cover it to the extent that we had hoped to? And then if not, then do something about it. I think that that's the ongoing work for all of us, is to ensure that we get that constant feedback from our teachers and our students to see how successful they are with our subset of standards.
And is it only for our district that we have priority standard, or do we learn from other district, or do we exchange idea, or how does it work?
Well, first, I wanted to address the question around the modules and so forth. Determining what are priority standards and setting them is not about determining how a teacher is going to teach. What we're saying is, this is the expectation that by the end of this course, your students will have acquired this knowledge and these skills. What you bring to the classroom, your moves to help the students to acquire that, that's the teacher. The teacher does that piece. We're just saying this is the expectation for moving to the next place. And I think all of us, just in doing the research, Miss Guerrero, she lives to read. And so there was a lot of research that she was doing, that each of us was doing, about what is out there. What does it look like to have priority standards? So we did quite a bit of background research that took place before the first dates that were on that timeline, and had many conversations about what does this look like in other districts? What does it look like in ours? In another district, at another time, they would not have chosen necessarily the same standards to prioritize that we did. And as Vanessa said, at another time when we revisit, they may, our priorities might change as priorities do change. But at this point, with all of the teacher input, these are the standards. We're not telling teachers the moves. We're saying, these are the expectations. We want to create some assessments to help us determine if the students have met the expectations. But the moves in the classroom, those are the teachers.
I see. One last question is for students who struggle. It's not one size fits all. Education is a different background, different, area that student might be really good at one area, might not be good on another area. So how could you help those students that have been struggling, from some area that they need more help than what other area that might be very good at it?
So the question is of what do we teach came out of the pandemic because of learning loss. What we have come to learn and realize and actually verbalize is that we've always had learning loss. We always have learning loss when a student is sick for 2 weeks and they come back. When the student has a concussion and has 3-4 months of maybe fuzzy thinking, there's learning loss. When a kid's parents take them on vacation during Christmas and they come back late after the school year started or after the Christmas break, there's always learning loss. That this time around, we had learning loss in a larger scale. But because we always have some form of learning loss, we need to do a better job as a district to provide interventions and supports in the moment and during the school year. And that's actually the foundational work around multi-tier systems of support, and where multi-tier systems of support and the priority standards come together. If a class, and I think I've picked on almost all the subject areas, so let me think. PE2, if PE2 has this number of standards for 180 days, and we say out of these standards, these are going to be the priority. If we can concentrate on this, the kids will be prepared for the next class. Those skills will help them in the other classes, and they will prepare them for life after. But we're going to concentrate on these. Then we can take those standards, stretch them over the 180 days. And now that allows us during the day, during the week, during the month to formulate some formative assessments, check in on kids, see how they're learning. And if they're not learning, we can intervene right there and then because we have a little bit more time to do so. But when we're trying to get to all of these standards, we got to hurry and we got to keep moving because it's now March, it's now April. That's what the priority standards allow us to do, to address the needs of students in the moment, as opposed to telling a student come after school or telling a student take summer school. How do we do that during the regular school day with interventions? That's the work. And that's something that we have some teachers doing an outstanding job. And I know that as a teacher, when I was a teacher, I kind of struggled with. So we're going to have a variety of teachers, right? Those that need the extra support to do that and those that can teach the rest of us how to do it.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation, Martha, Teresa, or subject coordinator. I really appreciate the presentation and look forward to see all of you again.
Thank you. Okay.
Board President, if I could, they got a round of applause right after, and they just got another one. I just have to recognize the power of what they just presented. I mean, when we talk about turning a crisis into an opportunity, they did exactly that. And when we started talking MTSS, and you listening to Associate Superintendent Marquez about common assurances, what they will be publishing is essentially a common assurance of what our students are going to develop and with their teachers build, the common assurance there. And then as Director Guerrero just stated, build in the space to make sure that teachers and students have those moments within their day and within the year to respond right there in class, because that space has been created. And as we move forward with these formative assessments and those almost diagnostic assessments at the start, that's really going to help our staff to to be able to know students right where they are and positively respond for that. Not just full participation later in society, full participation in that classroom, in that learning environment. And so this is just a massive step to that. And then, as board president, you mentioned earlier, bringing the entire teaching staff along with it as part of the process. How educational is that? How powerful is that? So thank you, team, for this work. And we know there's a lot more coming. It's going to take time,
Yes.
but I'm glad that it's mapped out and just super impressed and thankful for the work.
If I can ask you for a favor, if you could go back to the slide with the names of the subject area coordinators. I know that you've been very generous with your applause for those of us that are here, but the work has been done by all the subject area coordinators, and those that are not here today are part-time subject area coordinators. And I just wanted to make sure to recognize them for their work.
Thank you. We do have a request for public comment. Ms. Gillen,
Can we read their names out loud at some point to acknowledge them?
let me do that now and then we'll have the public comment. Why don't you, Vice President Chavez, please read the names of our subject area coordinators.
So to acknowledge the work of our subject area coordinators, counseling, Lori Martinson, English, Jefferlyn Davis, I'm sorry. Library Services, Robert Crichton, Mathematics, Lawrence Yee, Performing Arts, Ken Ponticelli, Physical Education, Lisa Baker, Science, Vanessa Vitu, Social Studies, Susan J, Visual Arts, Autumn Jewel, World Languages, Marta Escobedo, and apologies for anybody's name that I mispronounce. But thank you for your service.
Okay, public comment, Ms. Gillen.
Public comment from staff member Thomas Brittendahl. Are the priority standards being presented as future recommendations for staff or future mandates? That is the end of public comment online.
I can respond to that. I think it's pretty much been responded to. The fact that the process has been collaborative and inclusive of all teachers. It's a guide that's going to be presented to teachers in terms of the scope of skills and content within each subject area that is expected for students to be able to learn within that year for that course to have success within the next course. And so there's been a lot of collaboration, a lot of inclusivity when it comes to teachers, because they're the ones that are in the classroom where this is going to have the greatest impact. And so I'm hoping that Mr. Brittendahl can coordinate with Susan J if he feels that it hasn't been collaborative enough, so that then we can make sure to improve that process through social studies. Mandate versus recommendation. Yeah, and mandate was never said in any of the slides, and so that's not our intent. Our intent is for this process to be collaborative, inclusive, so that there is alignment across the board when it comes to answering that question, what do we want students to learn?
And to be clear, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Marquez, but these are state standards. This is what our state says in each classroom our students should be learning, our teachers should be teaching. But the priority standards is offering, saying like, when you look at the scope of everything, this is an offering for us to like, this is what we should be teaching or what we could be teaching, so that we have like Van, my colleague just said, how do we support our students that need more time, right?
Exactly.
If we know that we're gonna have to spend more time digging
Yeah, we
in.
are bound to California state frameworks as well as California state standards. As a matter of fact, one of the local indicators as part of the LCAP that you will be seeing presented in June when we bring forth the new LCAP for 22-23 is exactly an expectation of us to be able to assess where we are in the implementation of the California state standards across all our subject areas. So there is that expectation and requirement for California Department of Education that we do stick to the state standards for each subject area and the California framework for each of the subject areas. And so the work of the instructional team that was presented to you is exactly that, to provide that guidance and support so that teachers don't have to worry about going from page 1 to page 746 over the course of 180 days.
Okay, we're going to move on then in the agenda on to item 13.01 regarding the California Universal Meals Plan program, and that would be Ms. Julie Kasberger.
Good evening. Julie Kasberger, Director of General Services, and tonight I'm going to be sharing some information concerning the California Universal Meal Program, and more specifically, We'll be covering what we're currently doing, the modality that we're currently doing, participation, pre and now, then go into more specifics concerning the AB 130, which is the California Uniform Meal Program, and then the three kind of wings of it, and it's the state meal mandate, high poverty school requirements, and then the kitchen infrastructure and staff training grant that became available through this program. Then going to talk about some fiscal impacts that we're anticipating for next year, as well as they're never challenges. They're opportunities to show people we know what we're doing. And so we're going to share some of the opportunities that we're going to work with next year. So currently, our current modality, we're serving every single student, every single school the opportunity for a free breakfast, a free lunch, and a free supper. Now, what made that available are several waivers that the federal government did through USDA. And the ones that are very important to us this year have been the summer seamless option, which means free food for all kids. The other one that has been very helpful this year has been the summer food service reimbursement rate, which means it's a higher reimbursement rate than National School Lunch Program, which is our regular program that we operate. And then the third real important one this year has been the area eligibility. And what that means is the kiddos that are in schools that are lower free and reduced rates, they also can qualify for the summer seamless program, which means it's all free. And so those three have been amazing. The next four that are on this list are ones that we used predominantly while we were in distance learning. And so the mealtime flexibility gave us the opportunity to provide breakfast and lunch at one time, which is not allowed under National School Lunch. Same with non-congregated meals. Kids were able to eat meals at home. Normally, they have to eat on campus. Parent guardian pickup. Normally, the student must be the individual picking up their meal. We had a waiver that said no, parent guardian can come down and pick up meals for the entire family, everyone 18 and younger. And then there was a meal pattern I'm really tongue-tied tonight, sorry. Meal pattern waiver, which meant if we were having problems with distribution of food and such, and we might not get all of our milk, if we didn't have it, we'd still get reimbursed for it. But we have been so lucky, knock on wood, we did not have to use that one, but it was there and available for us. And so again, the top three, the ones that are in blue, those have been essential for our success this year. And so now our participation pre-COVID, we served about 7,000 meals. And so that's breakfast, lunch, and supper. And when I talk about a meal, that's where for breakfast, we offer them a grain, we offer them fruit, and we offer them milk. For lunch and supper, we offer them a protein, we offer them a grain, we offer them fruit, vegetables, and milk. And so it's packaged together. The students must take a minimum amount. And then we are able to, we could collect money from the student, and then we were reimbursed by the government, by the federal and state government. We then also offered a la carte choices. And so those were items where they could purchase one-on-ones. I want a water, I want a juice, I want a cookie. And so those are one-on-one. It's not reimbursed by the state or the federal government. And so it's kind of a get and go kind of store that we would have in addition to the meals. Okay, so pre-COVID, we were doing about a little over 7,000 meals and about $2,300 in a la carte sales. What we're currently doing on average now is we've almost doubled the meals to 13,000 meals. And so that's amazing. And that's what we want to do. We want to be providing them the meal that has the meat, the grain, the fruit, the vegetable, and the milk. And so we've almost doubled the number of meals that we're serving, but our a la carte has come down. Well, in order to prepare the number of meals we needed for the reimbursable meal area, we needed that labor there. And so a la carte, we kind of pushed to the side. This year, also, we were having supply chain issues where we just haven't been able to get product in. We can get water, we can get Gatorade, but there are a lot of the other items, chips and such, that just haven't been available. And that's a supply chain issue. So I'm going to get a little bit more detailed now with the California Assembly Bill 130, which is California Universal Meal Program. And I got to give it to the state. California was at the forefront when it came to serving kids free meals every day. We were the first state to push through legislation. It was signed in July of 2021, signed into law, and it's going to start in 2022-23 school year. And so there are like 3 prongs to this legislation. The first one has to do with the school meal mandate. And we currently have a school meal mandate, but this changed it. It also has the second prong, which is where high poverty schools are going to be required to do other things. We must go on to a federal provision, and that's a funding. It has nothing to do with the kids, has nothing to do with the school, has to do with my office and how we get funded for it and how we receive reimbursements. And then the third piece of this legislation had to do with the kitchen infrastructure and training grant. And so it's money that was earmarked for us to be able to purchase equipment in the kitchens and be able to train our staff to have healthy meals. So I'm going to start with a school meal mandate. This is the first prong. And so the state meal mandate, it currently, up until next year, it currently is we must offer 1 meal, reimbursable meal, anytime kids are in school. And so, okay, cool. The new requirement now says that we must offer 2 free meals to every student that comes to school. And so that's not just during the regular 180 days. It also includes collaboration days and special days, because there are times that because of schedules, we only offer a lunch on a collaboration day. Now we must offer a breakfast and a lunch on collaboration days. We must offer a breakfast and a lunch on Saturday schools. And starting next year, we must offer a breakfast and lunch on summer school. And so it's a change, but I think it's going to be really good for the kids.
Did funding come with this mandate? Would you talk about that? Okay, I'll wait.
And I'm smiling right now because you're not going to like the answer. Okay, so the second prong to the California Universal Meals has to do with federal provisions. And so any school that's considered high poverty, and so I'll define high poverty for you. High poverty has to do with the 40% or greater directly certified kids. And so directly certified means it's CalFresh, CalWorks, foster, migrant, homeless, and runaways. Our meal applications do not qualify the student to go into that number. And so we have 9 schools that are going to qualify. The other piece, and I'm just going to qualify right now. This is really confusing. And I have been living it for 9 months now, so I can speak to it and I feel pretty good about it. But if you're confused right now, don't worry, it's normal because it's really confusing. So there are 2 provisions that are available under the federal provisions. The first one is called Community Eligibility Provision. We call it CEP. The other one is called Provision 2. And so Provision 2 has been around for quite some time. CEP has been around for maybe 10 years, but Provision 2 has been around for quite some time. I'm going to start with CEP. CEP is, in order to qualify for CEP, the school or grouping of schools must be at least 40% or greater for stop. Must be 40% or greater of these identified kids: CalFresh, CalWorks, foster, migrant, homeless, and runaways. And so if we have 9 schools that we can group together and we can make that work. The reason CEP is very cool is, first of all, it's federally funded. Next year, there is no need for a point of service computer where the kid has to walk up and either scan or go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They just will walk up, they'll grab their meal, and we'll continue to do what we're doing right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will count them that way. They grab their meal and they go. Lines go like this. It's a great program. No identification. It's amazing. We love CEP. So what we're going to be able to do with the 5 schools that don't qualify because they don't come near the 40%, what we're going to do with those is we're going to go on to the second provision that's offered, and that's called Provision 2. Provision 2 has no required percentage or anything. And so the Provision 2, it's state and federally funded. We need to establish a base year in Provision 2. And the base year, we have to actually do the scan or the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with the kids during base year. And so we establish our percentages of free, reduced, and paid. And so once we've established those percentages in our base year, then the years past that, we get reimbursed based on those percentages. And so in the year 24-25, if 50% of the kids were paid, 30% were reduced, and 20% were free, or whatever the numbers are, we would just, if we served 100 kids, then 50 of them would be paid at the, anyway, So that's how you work out from provision two. So provision two, you need to have the base year. We'll have to do point of service for that first, the base year, which is the 22-23 school year. Now we have the question of, okay, how about LCFF? We have to identify the number of free and reduced for LCFF funding. Well, okay, here's the other confusing part, and we'll work with this and we'll make it work. For CEP schools, we can only collect alternative income forms. We cannot accept meal applications because CEP doesn't allow it. Provision two, we must collect a meal application, and we can do an alternate form, and we have the ability to do that, but we can do either one, but we prefer the meal application for the provision two schools. And so the cool part about once we get through base year with the provision two, it means when we get to 2023-24, all of our schools go back to the way we're serving today. And so anyway, so that's what we're looking at right now. And I think that I was going to say it on every single slide. Kids do not pay a dime. They pay nothing for meals starting next year. They pay nothing. Family pays nothing. There's no charge for breakfast, lunch, and supper for kids starting in 2022-23.
Even in the 5 schools that are going to have the point of service, how does that work?
So we're going to move up here, and you know what, Patty, I'm going to tell you right now, the state is going to come. That's what the 130 AB 130 is all about. One piece of it is the state will make up what the family doesn't pay for. So there.
So you have people apply for free meals, but they won't have to, but everyone will get them.
Every student will get a free breakfast, a free lunch, and a free supper if they choose to take a free breakfast, a free lunch, and a free supper. Okay, so we're going to go to provision two schools, which are the 5 higher socioeconomic schools. Those we have to establish that base year. So we need the application to establish our percentages for years on, for the future year, for our base year next year and for future years. The reason we're collecting the alternate income application for CEP is for LCFF funding. Because we have to be able to, we have to do the percentage of non-duplicated students for the district funding. I still see a puzzle on your face.
Well, yeah, like, okay, so so if we have to collect the data from the CEP schools, what's going to motivate them to turn in those?
We're going to have to motivate them. And so it's going to be the parent community involvement specialists. It's going to be the district getting very active in collecting. And I think that maybe part of what's helpful is for the past 2 years, they have not had to do anything. They get their free meal no matter what, and they haven't had to. And our percentage is only about 3% down from a normal year. And so for the district to put a 3% more effort into it, I believe we can do that. And so the other thing is there are all of those other things that kids get from the meal application, the waivers for the testing waivers and the college applications. A lot of kids, that's what they, I mean, we always know when SAT and PSAT are happening. We always know when AP right now, AP testing is happening. We know that because we get a flood of that information.
Okay, got it. So that makes sense, but I'm still confused about if kids are not going to pay, then what's the point of service is just to know who they are. Is that it?
Correct.
It's not that you're going to actually collect money.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
It is strictly to know Julie Kasperger is a free kid. And so I'm going to help with that percentage of free kids for funding in this year and future years.
You're just collecting data. You're
Just
not
collecting data.
money. Got
Just
it.
collecting
I got
data.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Will the state pay for the base year, given that we don't know who is who?
Yes, we will know because okay, so we have to keep CEP over here and we'll talk about provision 2 right now. So this is the one where we have to have the base year. And so the 5 schools over here, we're going to tell them what those numbers are because you see, we're collecting the data and we're submitting, okay, we served 9,000 free meals on provision 2. We served 9,000 free meals, we served 2,000 reduced meals, and we served 1,000 paid meals. So for the month of September, then those percentages are going to be our base year percentages going out. And so next year, if we serve a total of 12,000 meals, then the percentages are attached to our base year percentages. So the following years, we don't care who they are. We just get a total number, and then we apply those percentages to that number.
Got it. Thank you.
And it's very confusing. I mean, I went over this with Glenn several times, and anyway,
Because I couldn't get it, you know?
no, he gave
No,
me
but-
practice with the questions.
But truly, in that first set of 9 schools, the feds just pay for everything. In the second set, the feds will contribute, the federal government will contribute at 3 different levels, which will tell them what those levels are basically on the forms. And then the state contributes to what the feds, for meals that are reduced or a paid meal that the federal monies didn't pick up. Now, if I did my learning, the state isn't compensating at the same, but for the full cost, but we'll get into how they're the money situation in a second.
Okay, and so this next slide is just strictly, I just want everyone to understand that we have 5 schools, and they're going to be Evergreen, Piedmont, Santa Teresa, Silver Creek, and ATP North. Those are the folks that are going to be on the provision 2, who we're going to have to do the point of service, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have to do that for next year. And so every kid gets the meal for free. We won't be charging the family. We won't, every kid gets the meal for free. Evergreen, Piedmont, Santa Teresa, Silver Creek, ATP North. Anyway, and I'll tell you, we have worked really hard to get as many. At one point, Bjorn was here earlier, at one point we couldn't get independence on. And so we were kicking rocks everywhere we could to get those numbers. And so my office has been working really hard so that we could at least get, because independence. And what really is unfortunate is all of these schools, not ATP North so much, but these are 3 high enrollment schools. And so, and they're low, free, and reduced. And so it would be virtually impossible to get them onto CEP with the 40%. There's a lot of legislation. And when I first did the presentation, this was 2 months ago, when y'all asked for it, and I put a presentation together, and over the 2 months, this whole presentation has changed because every week we're getting different interpretations of the information. I mean, we're still waiting for legislation to potentially not have to do this. I'm not holding my breath anymore. So anyway. Okay. So are we good with the funding? And okay. And I'm more than open to have more in-depth conversations for those that are bean counters and want to know more about it. I will bore most of you to death because it can get really intense. Anyway, so now the fun part is the grant money that has been available is now available for the infrastructure and the staffing material or staffing grant. And so the state got $150 million from the feds. And so with this money, it was distributed to all school districts that applied. You had to apply for it. It was a very simple application. But and so we received $25,000 for the infrastructure / equipment. And then we received little over $57,000 for training. And so when I saw these numbers, I was like, let's flip flop, darn it, because I'd really like to have more money for equipment. What happened, unfortunately, the way that the grant was set up, it was based on any school district that was 50% or greater got basically like a concentration grant, like we do with LCFF. When you hit a certain percent, you get much more money. We were at 42%. So we had base funding of $25,000. But what was amazing is we did get the $57,000 for training, and it was based on our October meal counts. And because again, when you look at the number of meals we're serving right now, we did very well with the training piece of it. And so have done several workshops. And so we're going to be able to do some fun training with staff and be able to really impact meals. And so we'll bring the cooks in, be able to do some cooking training and techniques and such. And so we're starting to talk about that. And so that's pretty exciting about that grant. Anyway, and so now I'm going to get into what 22-23 fiscal impacts can look like. And so on slide 3, if you remember, there were the top 3 blue waivers that have been so amazing for us this year. And so they were the summer seamless. And what the summer seamless meant was we can serve meals for free to all students without any kind of point of service. The second one was the summer food service, summer food program reimbursement, which was an increased reimbursement rate compared to national school lunch, which we normally would do. And the third one was area eligibility. And the area eligibility is the one where a school normally, in order to be area eligible, you have to be 50% or greater free and reduced to qualify for all free. But with this waiver, any school is qualified as all free. So all three of these did not make it into the omnibus appropriations bill. And so I just gave you two examples of funding that we're going to lose next year compared to this year. And so when you look at the loss of the reimbursement rate from the summer food service as compared to national school lunch program, when you take the 25 cents per breakfast and the 81 cents per lunch, that equates to about $1.3 million. And it's just gone. It's not that we're not serving any more meals. It's just, it wasn't appropriated. And so that one's a big, oh my. And then the next one is mid-year, President Biden realized school lunch programs really do need some help because this supply chain issue is bigger, much bigger than anybody expected, and is sticking around a lot longer than anybody expected. So he was able to get us another 14 cents per breakfast and another almost 25 cents per lunch. And that equates to almost $500,000. So we're looking at $1.8 million in funding that just isn't going to be there next year for our program. And so I can name off three more. And so when you look at all of these funding sources we have available this year, we even had some funding come in this year that was for 2020-21. They didn't know how to appropriate it to us. And so they held on to it until they finally figured out how to get it to us. And so that came in as about $85,000 we got this year for 2 years ago. Anyway, when you add those all up, it's $3.4 million. So next year, if we serve the same number of meals next year that we do this year, we're going to do everything exactly the same, but we're not going to get $3.5 million that we have this year. Now, I'm not going to leave this like this because all of you are going like this right now. I don't believe that our country will allow this to happen because we're not the only district that has been very dependent on the money. I think we talked about this when we were in the audit committee. We talked about it. I truly believe that folks are going to step up and they're going to figure it out, that they can't do this kind of a thing to the nation. And so I believe, I'm choosing to believe that I think that it won't be this big. We have nothing right now, but anyway.
So just help me understand where these, yeah, because to say I'm confused would be an understatement, but so the mandate to serve more meals is coming from both the state and the feds, is that right?
What I'm talking about tonight, the free meals for all, that's California.
Okay.
That's California.
So, but they're required, it's a mandate, you got to do it.
We have
But
to
we're not-
offer, free meals, free breakfast and free lunch to all students, yes.
Okay. And that's going to cost money, and we're going to give you some of that, but not all of that. Is that?
They're going to give us what we had pre-COVID.
And what was that?
Oh, Patty,
Like
I'm
what
so
percentage?
sorry.
Well,
Okay, I can,
Julie, I'll follow up with you later then.
perfect, because I have
Okay.
all that information in my
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
office.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, because
I know that it's 25 cents less per breakfast and it's 81 cents less per lunch.
so those are from the state. They're reducing their reimbursement by a dollar something.
It's not that it's probably going to be best if we sit down and talk about this. Okay,
let's.
we have a reimbursement rate for National School Lunch Program. It's something that we've been doing since 1946. We get a federal reimbursement rate.
Right.
And
it's less than what it costs us.
Oh, absolutely. Here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
We're an underfunded program in the Bay Area.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So pre-COVID, we were given, we get $3.52 per free meal. Okay, so,
Okay.
and then the reduced, you take $3.52. What happened was when this year, there was a realization, again, that we had no staff, we had food shortages, we were having to, feed all of these kids. The Fed said, okay, rather than doing $3.52, which is the USDA National School Lunch Program reimbursement rate for the summer stimulus program, they said, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the summer food service program, which is $4.21. And so we're going to reimburse you at this higher rate for this particular program. You're going to operate this program, but we're going to give you these reimbursements for it because you need the money. And this is our mechanism to be able to give you that money. And then mid-year, the president said, you guys need even more money. So we're going to give you an additional 14 or 25 cents, depending on breakfast or lunch. We're going to give you even more money because you need more money to support what you're doing right now. And so we started with $3.52-ish. They knocked it up to $3 or $4 and whatever it was, and then they added on the 25 cents. And so what's happening is they did not fund this one and this one. So we're going back to national school lunch reimbursements per meal. So it's not that they took money.
22-23 is going back to
national school.
So this generous, like, okay, you get this great raised. So now the expectation of service is the same, but the reimbursement is going back to pre-COVID. I get it. Okay. All right. So before COVID, we were paying about $1 million to supplement this. And now you're saying we're going to spend about $3 million to supplement this.
Well,
Assuming that people don't do the right thing.
I'm not going to share any of those numbers tonight.
Okay.
Because I have to have them approved by Ron and Sylvia.
Okay.
I can tell you that this school year, I believe we did very well.
So this year, but we have the higher reimbursements this year.
That's right.
So, but what
That's right.
we're saying is that going forward, we can expect to contribute significantly more to this program, which we have to do because we're mandated by the state.
This California is actually now a mandate. We can't pull out a national school lunch anymore. When you look at what happened last year, there were a lot of things. We started the school year off, we were scared to death because of what our expectations were. And as the lobbying happened at USDA, the federal government, and the year before it was even more because of the election and all of that. What was happening was there were decisions that were being made after the fact that were very helpful to us. And so I believe that with all the lobbying that's going on right now, there are two bills that we're slowly, and they're even slower now, but there are bills out there. There's a realization that the program needs to be funded at an appropriate level. There is a realization. What is unfortunate is it's the USDA's ability to do it. I was on a state thing on Tuesday. It's called Tuesdays at 2. Anyway, and USDA's hands are tied right now. They're like, we can't do anything for you because of the way we work. And so it just has to be anyway.
I'll follow up with you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. And so now just our opportunities to be successful next year. Just want to keep it out there that we're continuing to have supply chain issues. We're managing our supply chain issues. And I think that, pricing for food has increased significantly. Paper goods have been interesting, getting them in the back door. Menu choices, we continue to do the best that we can with what's coming in, as well as even, I would love to go back to doing Pasoli, but we can't get the bowls. And if we get the bowls, we can't get the lids. And sometimes we can get the lids, not the bowls. Anyway, just a challenge we're working with right now. The other one is USDA commodities, they're normally like steadfast, no problem, we get them. We're actually getting shorted on commodities now. And so anyway, so we work with it. Every kid gets a meat, every kid gets a grain, a fruit, a vegetable, and a milk. Every kid gets that. But what might be menued is a spicy chicken sandwich. They might get a cheeseburger instead. And so we make it work. And the staff has been amazing with making it work. And as a matter of fact, I got a text from my assistant today and he was like, can you send me that baked chickpea recipe? I want to try those out. And we're going to use those because we have chickpeas in the warehouse right now. And so anyway, we're going to put something together that the kids might like. We're continuing to have limited or no substitutes, but actually that sounds negative, but it's actually a positive because we're bringing in substitutes all the time. And what happens is we open a position, whoop, there they go. I think we've hired 10 subs this year. We open a position, whoop, there they go. And so we're hiring them as permanent positions, but it doesn't help us out when we have those days, weeks where we've got lots of folks that are not coming into work for reasons anyway. And then the final one is, I know Member Lay, near and dear to your heart, the salad bars. So I just wanted to, I'm not ignoring it. It's just that we do offer the fresh salads every day, but they're prepackaged. And it also has to do with just labor. It takes so much labor to be able to put the full salad bar together and then to break it down and the cost. And so, but we do fresh salads every single week. And so kids have that opportunity. Yes, anyway. And so I'm done with my formal part of the presentation. So anything else I can try and answer?
Yep, I think
Thank
we
you
did
to
our
you and your
questions.
team for, the gymnastics you've had to do to make this all work. It's just been, I remember your last presentation about.
I keep saying, I've been in food service for 38 years and doing this job for 38 years. And I have to tell you, the past 2.5 years have been absolutely amazing for me as a department lead, for folks to be so appreciative to those frontline people that it has taken 35 years of, they just get beat up and beat up and beat up, where it has been amazing, this whole COVID thing, and the thank yous and the notes and the, you guys are doing a great job. It has been amazing for me for exactly what you're saying, that the team has been just amazing. And so anyway, I too. Yes.
Yes. I have to say that I've been visiting several schools and I did visit all the kitchen and for the food. Some of the students that asked me that are we going to offer pho? Because they know that at YB with the at the time that former principal Tom Wynn make the pho for YB student, and I went to visit Andrew Hill and they say, are we going to copy the same thing with YB to have pho? That's one thing. Second thing is, I know that now we don't have the line, but we still have a little bit line, but what you still count the calorie for each meal? I mean, according, I remember that when I first started, I know that you will have to have percentage of how many calories for this, how many calories for that. It's amazing that, the student that I asking them that we have a free meal. Why don't you come and pick them up? And they said that some of the food that they really not like it. And I said, what food do you really like it? Did you ever have a survey to find out that, what type of food that they really like it? And the second thing that I remember, one of our students that did do the app for, for the east side. I don't know that it does work or not, because remember the time that they order the food and you had the ready, and so you don't waste the food. So it's really think about me that how did we work and collaboratively? I know that this is an amazing job. I mean, I have to comment for you that you did a good job, but I don't want to see waste food, as well as how do we fit them, but they have to like it. And instead of like you prepare tons of food, but they don't like it, so we're gonna have to waste it. So can you help me understand, the whole dynamic of this?
Okay, so I'll start with your first question.
Okay.
And it had to do with pho. And so we did serve pho district-wide. And so it
Really?
wasn't just at Andrew Hill.
Oh.
But the problem right now is, I'm going to go back to the bowls. We can't get bowls.
Oh,
We can't
really?
get bowls and we can't get lids.
And so while we were on distance learning, distributing that kind of food out in the parking lots, it was
Right.
it
It's not
was
work.
okay. So what's happening now is it's just the paper products. Paper products and any kind of petroleum product, the lid. Anyway, we don't have access to it. I mean, I think this year we've gotten maybe 10 cases all year long, which is nothing. Anyway, so pho, that's one of the ones I'm talking about. Pho and pozole, and to be able to get back to doing that kind of stuff, we need to get back onto, we need to get supply chain and product coming back into us. Okay.
Right.
Your second question had to do with calories. Yes, we still do calories. It's available online. And so just go into the child nutrition website and into menus. And at the bottom, there's a specific one for students that are interested, particularly for diabetes, for the carbohydrates, but we also do an all nutrient one. Okay, and then the survey, we did a survey and I was supposed to present the survey on March 19th. Remember, we closed down. I had a presentation all ready to go and you all got it because it was published. But then Superintendent Funk said, "You're not coming in." So I said, okay, so yes, we did do a survey. I'm going to be very, and I could be totally wrong and you can tell me I'm wrong. When I survey and ask you what your opinion is and what you want, if I don't respond to that, then I feel as though I'm dissing you or I'm not listening. Right now, I don't have a lot of leniency because we are stuck with what comes through the door. And so we have to serve what comes through the door. And so if they want pho, I can't do it. And so if I ask you what you want, and then I say, oh, sorry, I can't do it. And so, yes, I totally agree. We need to be doing surveys, but I think we need to get more where we're a little more flexible in being able to respond to the survey so that we're listening. And that's my own personal opinion. If you don't agree with me, let me know. And I'm more than open to having a conversation. And then the last one about the app, because we're not doing a la carte right now, we aren't ready for the app. We're not going to use the app because we're not doing the a la carte yet. And so that was what it was for.
So the next question, are we going to waste the food because we don't know how many come in to pick up the food?
Vemberley, you would not believe how good those kitchens are. We don't throw anything away.
Okay.
It is amazing how they have it honed in. It's a cycle menu. And so it's a 2-week cycle menu. And so they pretty much know, and they know on they know what to do on collaboration days. It's amazing how they get it right. It's amazing what they do. So when you talk about tons of food, we do not throw away tons of food.
Great.
They do an amazing job out there.
Excellent. No, I'm happy. And this child nutrition, program that I'm really pay attention. And I know that, for our students and, I really want to see they're very happy, when they pick up the food and now it's free. That's a really amazing. But like if we can catering some time, maybe later on, to particular some food that really attract to them, so they probably will really remember. Because when I went visit school and they said, I want this, I want that, so I really appreciate your time.
I totally hear what you're saying. It's not going on deaf ears. I hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Julie.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Very, very thorough. Moving on to, there are no items on number 14 on the agenda, no items on number 15 of the agenda, which brings us to the consent calendar, and I need a motion or.
I'll move to approve. I'll
Moved by
second.
Cortese, seconded by Doe. If there's no discussion, student board representative, how do you vote?
Yeah, I want to make a quick comment. I feel like I mentioned it in the past, but I really appreciate the free lunch program just because, we have to go to school. Like us as students, we have to go to school. And the fact that a lot of my peers come to school, they used to come to school without breakfast, without lunch. And just the fact that it's always offered to us, I feel like it's just such an amazing thing to have. It makes me feel more welcome, to be honest. And it really does give me something to look forward to every day. As something to nourish me, and I really appreciate all that effort that you all put into like making this and like making sure that like this program is continued. So yeah, it's a definite yes for me.
Thank you for your comment. We're voting on the consent calendar. It's been moved and seconded to approve it. How do you vote? Student board
yes.
representative? Yes, okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it passes unanimously. Moving on to number 21 on the agenda, written reports and recommendations. The only report transmitted or the only transmittal is a letter from the Santa Clara County Office of Education concurring with the board's positive certification for the 21-22 second interim report. And there is no discussion under this section of the agenda unless you want to bring it back. Moving on to item 22.01, opportunity of the board to request items on future agendas. Any requests at this point? Not. 22.02 future items, we're just tracking them here. If there are no comments there, move on. That takes us to number 23 on the agenda. Board comments, and as I usual, I'll start to my left with member Doe.
No additional comment.
Vice President Chavez.
I have to start with Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you, every teacher, for your service. This is really, really hard work. And I know most, if not all of us, don't do this just for the money. We don't get paid enough. It's really impactful and we're changing the lives of our children. So I want you to know that we see you and we value each and every one of you very, very much. And a little side comment, please, especially in these moments, take care of yourself. We're on the finish line. School year is almost over. And it's been amazing to see a lot of the great things coming out of this school year. I mean, one example is I was at Independence yesterday and I saw the iDance board. You have to go. These students are so skilled. I could not believe it. They did everything by themselves. Choreographed, they did the lighting. The teacher was explaining that for like a 3-minute dance, for example, our students would spend over an hour and the lighting was so on point. I had to take double, triple takes. I'm like, these our students? It really was phenomenal. So very, very good job, students and teachers, for supporting our students through this work.
Thank you, Member Cortese.
Feliz Cinco de Mayo, everybody. And yeah, then thanks to our teachers and staff that just make education possible. It's just awesome.
Member Lay.
Yeah. So appreciate all teachers, staff, as well as administrators. You know, I feel very proud to be a board member at Eastside, you know, and listen to all presentations, you know, today. And I feel that, you know, we really, really proud of our district, that we have a lot of hardworking administrator, teachers, staff, and for students, that really amazing district. And I also want to thank you, Superintendent Glenn Vandazzi and Principal Marian Polat from YB, that organizing the first flag ceremony for the Vietnamese South Republic of Vietnam at YB, and also for students. Really appreciate that they came out and as teachers, and this is amazing. It's hopefully that we can keep the tradition for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no comment. Let me call on our student governing board representative, Paula Escobar.
Yeah, to reiterate board member Cortez's comments, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. I hope you all can celebrate with your families. And I also wanted to shout out a lot of like the student organizers at Evergreen, also at other campuses, who have been rallying for an improved sex education curriculum, just because I know like this is something that SUB has been working on for like 2 years now. And so I'm really glad to see so many passionate students like organizing and working together. I really getting the student voice out and in different ways. And I think that's really amazing to see. And also good luck to all the Eastside Union students who are dealing with finals, dealing with the end of the year, second semester, like kind of chills, and also everyone who's going to take an AP exam and this week and next 2 weeks. Hope y'all get some rest and good luck.
Thank you. And Mr. Superintendent, comment.
Yeah, Paula called it. Really want to send out our good vibes to our students that are, getting to the end of the year, passing those classes to the AP class and their AP tests and things like that. We're just 4 days, Cinco de Mayo, we're just 4 days past the day that seniors had to declare their college. And so that's been a big moment for a lot of our students and a lot of our families this last week. And as we said before, we had amazing students that they were here with us tonight, but I can't appreciate enough our teaching staff that really, gets these type of opportunities in front of our students that our students can step up and meet. And whether that's in our CTE programs or a specialized class like this for a business competition, if it's getting helping our students with AP or just meeting A through G, just can't thank teachers enough for what they do. I do want to recognize, however, that at our last board meeting, there was some public comment around school climate. And we said towards the end of that meeting that we would be organizing a group to look into, hey, what is the positive school climate that we're seeking? What are some challenges in that? What would the positive outcomes be? And then how we work to meet that. And so that will be formed and be taking place for the good of our community. So
And it will involve the participation of the board president and board vice president.
absolutely, the board president and vice president will be involved. And just for final clarification on that flag raising, Sarah, I just want to make sure that the students get the credit. Didn't organize that, but our Vietnamese Student Association put in a lot of work in making that happen. So thanks to the Yerba Buena Vietnamese Student Association.
Thank you. Item 23.04, any comments on board meeting evaluation? Okay.
Well, a good board meeting is 65% about student achievement. So I think we met that metric tonight.
Great, thank you. Moving on, 24.01, any legal counsel report? Well, we don't have our legal counsel this evening. Mr. Superintendent, any report on closed session items? Closed session actions?
Closed session item 2.05, the board unanimously approved the removal of added instructional responsibilities from one certificated employee pursuant Appendix C of the agreement between the district and the Eastside Teachers Association. Also, item 2.05, the board by unanimous vote approved the dismissal of one classified employee. There are no other items to report.
Very much. And as I adjourn the meeting, I want to request the board to remain in their seats for another 60 seconds while Mary Gillen takes a photo of the board at the dais. Okay. So meeting is adjourned, but members of the board, please just